Divine and royal greetings, family, built through book club here with another episode, another discussion. I am Shayola Benta along with Coach Shantae Wilkerson. And we are going to, I'm trying to find some place to put my sage down. We are going to have maybe a different type of conversation today. Of course, we err on the side of health and how it may relate to your life. Today's discussion is about a little bit about breatharianism, right? Or breatherian. Breatherian. See, I haven't even practiced this level of diligence, if you will. Meaning, we know that there are different layers to this walk, this journey. So, some people may consider themselves a flexitarian, where their diet, flexes between different things. And then you may have a vegetarian who, doesn't consume um, milk, flesh products, but they may still consume dairy. Then you may have someone who is a vegan, no flesh or dairy. Then you have someone that may be a raw vegan, and that's their food prepared below 120 degrees. Then you may have a juicitarian. That person just consumes mainly juices. And then you have people that just consume air, right? Consume their breath. So if you're interested in learning more about that particular lifestyle, there is a link in the bio that will take you to the brother that will be introduced or talked about in today's video. And we did choose a video from Dr. Mumbi Saraki. Shout out to her. She's in Kenya. And she always brings us these great topics, spiritually based, some of them. I like to think of our collective as an elite group. We did go through a rigorous training. And, it spoke to me at least. Hopefully, it'll speak to the rest of the crew. So we're going to go ahead and get started. This video is about 17 minutes long, and we very well may stop in between just to unpack and talk and see where we are, and see what those thoughts are. So give me one moment. Which is weird because I don't even see. Hold on, maybe it's this. Yep, this is where it is. So here we go. All right. We getting to it, y'all. We getting to it. Here we go.
Hello and welcome, family. This is a special message for the elite chosen ones. And the only reason I say that is because there's so many different levels of chosen ones, and many won't get this. This is extreme. So if this does not resonate, please know that it's not your message. But for the elite chosen ones, I just wanted to explain something that the Great Spirit has been showing me, that the ancestors, my spiritual team, have been showing me, and please let me know if you've been feeling this, is we are reaching a point where we are going to have to be able to survive by breath alone for a few days, for a week, for a month, for 2 months. And that's why a lot of you have been feeling this need to detox. Like right now, during the month of September, I've actually gone on a detox with my soul sisters. And, they've gone raw. Some of them are already at the level of raw. But, I'm just doing like pure vegan kind of detox, no oils, no whites, no all of that. But it's something that was heavily, deposited in my spirit as something that we should do in September. I mean, all of us kind of got the same, you know, got the same message. And then when we shared, it was like, yeah, let's detox in September. And this month actually is the month of like purging, setting new, activities for yourself. And it really is like the energy is very favorable to a detox. But what I found, family, is I think you've seen recently the old Rasta gentleman. Well, no, the elder. Let me not even say old. There ain't nothing like old. Death is an illusion. The elder who came out, who was a breatharian, and he survives on breath alone. And that story, it captivated me. And I wondered, why are these codes being released now? And I think he came out with his story about a year ago or so. And he was talking about how he survives on the breath, on the light codes. And family, that's the level we're going to have to reach. And I think that's why his story, or he was led to discuss, to talk about his story, so we can tap into him. I mean, not tap into him like that, but we can tap into that narrative and kind of incorporate that narrative as a possibility for us. Because some of the habits we have, it's the physical things that we do for that habit that make it hard to walk away. It's like smokers will let you know, will tell you that the thing they miss the most is like the lighting of the cigarette, holding it with their morning coffee or whatever, and the activity that it kind of that is around that smoking, more than the smoking itself. And for me, what I even eating, family, like, when you're fasting, sometimes it's not really the hunger, but that missing that act of eating and chewing and digesting. And these are the things that we're detoxing from. Remember, family, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. Thanks for the confirmation, spirit. And so everything happens here before it happens physically. But sometimes our narrative will create physical habits that make it hard for us to walk away from certain things. And so a time is coming. I know you've seen, family. There's so much censorship around this issue, but I know you've seen how much of our food is being poisoned, how they're even putting now nanotechnology into food. They're doing that research. Remember, whatever they tell you they're doing, they've already done. They're usually 50 years ahead of the information that they're sharing with the sheeple. A lot of the lands are toxic, so the food we're eating is extremely low vibrational, etc., unless you can get access to organic food. And then for you guys who are still eating flesh, like, wow, you can't be an elite chosen one and still be eating flesh. There's no way, because it's too heavy of a vibration, family. Like, to walk away from flesh, yeah, and the heaviness and how heavy that vibration is very hard. And I'll be totally honest, family. Like, I fell off the vegan wagon when I got to the island, and I, thought I could innocently eat fish because I'm water. But there's something about the waters. I know you guys, what happened in Japan and everything. Like, there's something, family, because I started getting like a puffiness from like my body started just rejecting it.
So I'll stop here for a moment. I can't really see anything other than the screen. So, Shantae, if you see anything differently, definitely feel free to chime in and let me know. But
All right.
what have you taken away thus far in these 5 minutes?
It's a lot of information that I'm sure she's going to share throughout this, but just the concept of, that breatharian lifestyle. And I think I had started watching video of the gentleman that she was speaking of a few years ago, and it was just so far fetched, so far out of reach from anything that I had thought about or anything that I thought was possible, that I didn't even really consider it as a lifestyle option for me at the time. I was just Oh, wow, that's awesome for you. Kudos. You over there, you keep doing your thing. 'Cause, yeah, somebody could do that. I don't think that somebody is me.
Right,
But
right,
like
right.
you said, when it comes to our intake, than it's more so of a habit than anything particular that we need. And I laugh because I'm a fan of tarot and oracle deck. And recently there was a deck called the Metaphysical Cannabis Oracle. It recently came out. I think it came out last month in September.
Mm,
And I have fallen in love with that deck. Like it is deeply connected to my soul already, and I've only had it for like maybe a week or two. And I think it was a week. I think I got it last week Friday.
mm-hmm,
Not last week Friday, the previous Friday. But anyhow, I cleansed and saged and all that kind of good stuff. And the first reading that I gave myself was beautiful, but one of the cards that came up was food meditation. And
mm-hmm,
it's beautiful that this is the subject that we are discussing today because that's some real stuff. What we put into our body, what we consider food, is extremely important. And when we realize that we're just eating things out of habit, or we're eating things from a space of emotion, or we're eating things for any other reason than true nourishment for our divine vessels, that's where we have to go back to the basics and say, okay, I know I need these things, but I want those things. So I've got to dial it back, maybe do a detox, maybe do a colonic, maybe do an enema, so I can get back to these things, this level of balance. And when you get here, you can do all kinds of things. That
mm.
breatharian definitely on up there in the in the realm of things that's possible, but there's a lot of stuff you have to do here first before
You can get to that. Yeah, I definitely agree. This download came to me about 2 years ago, where it's like you all will get to a space where you will not be able to eat and consume the way that you are. And I heard of this lifestyle, but I wasn't really aware of anyone that was doing it until this elder. I think I might have seen his story probably about a year ago, and it is quite fascinating. All right, let's jump back in.
It's like it started retaining that energy. And even though I wasn't eating as much of it, I was like starting to gain weight and stuff. And so for the elite chosen ones, we're at war. We're like pulling in, we're overlaying the new energetic framework, the new earth order. And they can't stop us. But they're going to try and do everything to make us stop ourselves. And it's funny because, I was speaking to a Rasta man and we had this conversation many years ago now, come to think of it. But what he was telling me is like, it's going to reach a point where if you're going to Babylon for whatever reason, like if you're living by Mount Zion, like some of us were so blessed and grateful to be able to do that, that where our food is all fresh and for the most part organic, it will be like when you travel to Babylon, you won't be able to eat there.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I was having the conversation with the Rastaman, we were talking about how a lot of celebs even carry their water to Africa. Actually, that's how the conversation started. And we were talking about how certain celebs who come from Jamaica or wherever, when they came to Africa, they would even carry their own water, all their own food, everything. And their own chef would come along. So they would literally not eat anything of the land.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the point we're going to have to reach, because as the elite squad, we're here to shatter the old paradigm, to bring it down. We're here to spread the good news to the people, to our people scattered across the world. And that may, require us to go into the belly of the beast. And when we go into the belly of the beast, we best be ready to live by breath alone. And you'll have to, I know a lot, well, I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. Is this something are you resonating with this? Because I know the ones who this message is not for, this will be too wild for them. They'll be like, what? But we have to start already taking that narrative in. Because family, it's like they are going to crash the food system. And what if you're caught in a place where literally I feel like they're trying to turn, this whole transhumanism by any means necessary. And food may be like their last frontier. Or what happens when food is not available? How do you survive? I feel like some of us will, because we will be called into those danger zones, or we're already in those danger zones. So you're being called to prepare now. Remember 2 years ago, I talked about prepare, stock up on food. And now the ancient ones are saying, prepare to live by breath alone. Because there may come a season, I don't even want to put it into the reality like it will happen, but there may come a season when that will save our lives. So if you're being led to detox, listen to your spiritual team, even when they ask you to do the hard things. If you're being urged to detox family. If you're being urged to go back to vegetarian, vegan, maybe even become a fruitarian, do that. And of course, some of these things like vegan and everything, it really does take either being on Mama Africa where you're close to people growing greens and all these things everywhere and fruit trees and everything, or having your own garden to a certain extent, or a supply. And family, remember back in the day when I did the video of food and I said you can remove the energy and also put energy into it. But now it's getting trickier if you're in Babylon, family.
Mm-hmm.
So start to become comfortable with the idea of living by breath alone. And I'm telling you, the way this sun feels now, some will say it's the false sun. I don't know about the false sun or I feel something. But the light, the energy that is hitting the planet will be enough to feed you. And let me just say, this message stresses, it's not stresses, but it stretches me because it's like, whoa. Like, I'm okay with fasting a few days, but those people who do like a pure fast, no water, no nothing. I've never gone down that route, but the Spirit is urging us to prepare for any outcome because, family, the truth of the matter is no one knows what is up ahead. It's being written right now. They've tried to put books and predictions and mix it up with our revelations and predictions. But it's like we're choosing those timelines right now. And the disadvantage we have is that they have our people so deep asleep that they're choosing the wrong timeline. So our people are supporting them out of ignorance, really. They keep choosing their timeline, and then we're trying to bring in this new timeline. So it's just like, and remember, the group consciousness is how this world works. What the group believes is what manifests and shapes reality. So they really do everything to make sure you can't penetrate the group consciousness, or they've tried to capture the group consciousness. And right now we're in a bit of a, mental prison situation because so many of our people, especially here on Mama Africa, believe in Mzungu Jesus, Mzungu God, and all this like really low level stuff. So it's very hard being a high vibing being. And I've seen all your emails for the Unity Communities family, especially around Africa, actually around the world. We're such a separated people. I feel you, family. I'm putting the Unity Communities together as quickly as possible while doing my own healing and ascension. And I'm so grateful that you want to be a part of it. It's so beautiful. Thank you so much. I even have hiccups. But could you live by breath alone? Develop that faith. Have that narrative in your mind. Because that will probably be the so-called trump card of the Babylon system to make people fall into line. Or to try and block our way out of here. By poisoning what is below, let's say our body, so you can poison what's above, which is like our mind, spirit, etc., etc. Could you live by breath alone? I'll even look for the gentleman I'm talking about and leave it in the comments below. Just be ready, family. Be ready, especially if you're in Babylon. I know, there's many families that have taken on fasting, or they periodically just do one meal a day, intermittent fasting. And this is a message for me as much as it is for you, like to push ourselves beyond these narratives, so that in case we're ever called on to go into the belly of the beast, into the stronghold of the enemy, we'll be totally fine. Just, it reminds me of, I don't know if you guys remember that movie of the Dalai Lama, the Dalai Lama story. I know I was going to say Dalai Lama daughter. The Dalai Lama story, where, I don't know, there was a movie that came out when we were younger, and the young boy was kidnapped, and he didn't eat for, I think he was kidnapped for almost like 3 months, or almost 3 or 6 months. I can't remember the year. It was a long time, and he didn't eat anything. He didn't eat any of their food or anything. But he didn't go down. And actually, here he had special leaves where he would just pull out a little leaf, probably a moringa leaf, whatever, and that would sustain him for the day. And he'd always do it like when they weren't looking. So we just have to, work out our mind, expand our narrative, when nothing is impossible, family. Let me know what you think in the comments below, because when I've been holding this message, but really we must obey spirit when we choose to be messengers. We can't just share what we want to share and say, oh no, I'm not sharing, I'm not going to share this one is too much. Because spirit is constantly expanding us. That's how you know you're working with your ancestors and your spiritual team. They constantly want to expand you on all levels. It's like a stretching. But those are stories for other days. Tuko pamoja.
All right. So let me come back to the forefront. It's a lot going on here. Remove. Ooh, Sacred Woman Ray is here. Look, eating, having a good time. All right. So again, that definitely was a lot to take in, especially if you haven't heard this content before. There is someone on Facebook that says, yes, I definitely resonate with this. And I loved the movie that she showed at the end, in that we very well may have to acclimate ourselves, especially as messengers, especially as healers. If we are going back and forth into Babylon, how does that actually look without us getting caught in the crosshairs? Are we ready for that type of shift? Like, all right, I am not a flesh eater, but I might have a little something before I leave the house, because I know where I'm going. They're either not going to have what I can eat, or the vibration or energy or whatever that's in the food I don't need to consume. So what say y'all? What did you take away from Dr. Moonbi?
First thing I want to say is I just knew she was talking about the golden child. I just knew it. If she hadn't put that thumbnail up there to show what movie she was talking about, that's immediately where my mind went, because they had the same concept in that movie with the golden child, which apparently was a girl, and she would
Mm.
just sit there, and whenever they weren't looking, she'd take out a leaf, and that leaf, and that was
Mhm.
her sustenance for the day. And it was just an interesting uh, parallel or whatever that she made with that concept because um, sorry, I'm getting this because, like you said, when you're getting ready to go into a space, we may not think about, going to a family gathering as going into Babylon. But if you're from the South, specifically, like where I'm from, there's no such thing as a flesh-free meal. Like the peas have smoked something in them, the collard greens have smoked something in it, the cabbage has smoked something in it. Everything has something that came from flesh in it. Um,
Mm.
Literally, the only time that I have food there that I can eat is if I prepare it to take with me. So that is always a concept, and just to think about now this particular like going into the space of a breatharian, the way that it was presented definitely does make sense
Mhm.
because you're about like our different healers, leaders, and teachers who are taken to into their own areas of Babylon, and they have to sit still, and they're not being given the food that they're accustomed to eating, and they have to do all of these other things to just stay grounded. I know that just being able to go into a meditative state and not have to be concerned about what your gut bacteria is demanding or what your habits are demanding and that type of deal would be exceptionally beneficial. So I'm definitely more open to it than I was previously,
Right,
but
right,
it's
right.
still a hump.
A hump indeed, a hump indeed. Thank you so much for that share. Lorraine, do you have any takeaways from what Dr. Moonby was sharing?
Um, yeah, I guess so. I know over the time, so I've been vegetarian for many, many, many years. I'm vegan now, but like, so I've always been used to and accustomed to going to people's houses and bringing my own food since for like 15, 20 years now. Um, Um, and so I've gotten to the point where if I'm going to like a friend's house and I'm gonna hang out for a while there, like I'll usually just bring the meal, like I'm gonna cook for you guys, so it'll be
Mhm.
something that I can eat, for sure. And then also just kind of slowly introducing them to, my lifestyle. But from what I took from what she was saying specifically, I'm like that breatharian. It definitely sounds intense. I don't know that I would be ready for it. I'm one of those people for sure who I realized even when she was talking about the smoking and the eating, it's like the habit, like the activities, the
Mhm.
things that I associate with it, not the actual feeling of fullness or, relaxation or whatever that I may get from it. But it is like, oh no, the process, I suppose. But what I would want to say is about the breatharian to the extent it sounds doable, definitely challenging, but it's just that whole notion of, mind over matter, for
Mm.
sure. And then really understanding that it is the mind that creates, like she had explained that we're spiritual and soulful beings having a human experience. So it's like we've created that human experience over time. And so we can also create that experience of us being able to live off of just the breath. I'm sure it will definitely be challenging, but like definitely, being intentional and in that space. So I don't know that I'm ready for it yet. I hope whenever the season calls for it that I am, and that the season is not very long because I definitely love to eat. But
Yeah. I mean, listen, I said, Most High, is it some type of trick you're playing on a sister? Because I too love food, but I also realize that, just reviewing my patterns of life, I can abuse it because if I love something, I'm going to love it and I'm going to eat it. And sometimes I'll eat until I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have had that last bite. It's just too much. But one of the things that came to my mind is, we're going through, well, we're approaching these solar flares, right? So The planet is going to get warmer. Our bodies probably wouldn't even be able to take in the things that we are accustomed to taking in now anyway. So, when I was teaching, I would always encourage my students to fast intermittently. Take out of your diet the things that you love, because when that time comes, at least muscle memory will kick in, right? So we're not going through anxiety and depression and withdrawals because we can no longer have the foods that we are accustomed to, not because we just have decided not to eat them or consume them. They're just not available. So how would you mentally prepare for a time when the things that you are accustomed to are no longer available? So just doing that practice, whether it's a day of not having a thing, really can help. Now, when I fast, I'm not going to front. I went through a fast where it was just total, it was 100% juicing. And by that third day, y'all, it was just like mentally, it's like I needed something to chew. It really is amazing. Like your body is like, oh wait, we're not chewing anything, and it really was tough. But I would say by the fifth day, I had gotten over it. But those first 3 days, it was really no joke. Then she mentioned some of us are choosing the wrong timeline. Now, I had the privilege of being a part of a webinar yesterday where the host was talking about timelines and what are they? And really, it's like a fork in choice. If you, let's say, she said, for an example, you decide rather than being a part of this session, you say, okay, well, I'm just going to watch TV or I'm just going to watch Netflix. By you choosing that choice, now it's taking you farther away from where you're supposed to be because you weren't tuned into the information to carry you to the next space. You're hovering around a timeline that doesn't work for you. So, and that really stood out for me because sometimes I'll do that, like, oh, I'll do this instead of that. But it's like, well, is this what you're supposed to be doing? And sometimes I'll feel that I don't want to call it shame or guilt, but it's like, this is not what you're supposed to be doing in this space of time. I'm not talking about getting your rest and chilling and doing those things, but we can choose these timelines that will keep us in the abyss of Babylon. So, you know, as we continue to grow through our initiation, our ascension, our evolution, we have to be cognizant really of the decisions that we're making, because all decisions, good, bad, or indifferent, has a consequence. And consequence doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. So she also said that the group consciousness matters. So if we have a part of the consciousness that's like, I'm going to eat my meat, I'm going to eat my dairy, I don't care what we're going through, this is what I'm doing, it will affect everyone else. Because I think what's going to happen is we're going to be called to say, okay, well, which timeline you choosing? Because if you're choosing what is not for the benefit of the collective consciousness, then we're just going to move without you. And, that could be tough as well. So anything, let me ask, how do you think you would feel with just maybe having one meal a day?
I've tried it. It is not for my temple at this time.
Okay.
Now, I have accidentally, like, if I get into the flow of, oh, am I real creative? And I'm just going to let all my creative energy out. I'm going to get all of these things done that I need to do. And da 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 da. If I start my day with a green drink, I'll probably go till like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And then my body is like, girl, if you don't give me something to eat, it's going down. And that's the only time when I can, if I do that, then I can go like one meal a day. But if I am at a steady pace, I'm not like in hyperdrive, I need to at least have 2 meals a day. Because those green drinks, they can hold me for a good little time.
That's real. That's what's up. What say you, Lorraine? Can you live off of one meal a day?
Oh, absolutely. I feel
Intentionally.
like that's how I eat. I've eaten most of the years of my life, anyway, not
Mhm,
purposefully,
mhm.
but just that way. Because in fact, when I try to do it intentionally, then I'm hungry. Then I'm like
Yeah,
I'm trying to
yeah,
eat all the things. Yes,
yeah.
and so for me, it's really like if I start eating like heavily early in the day, then I'm gonna want to eat all throughout the day.
Mhm.
But like Shantae said, if I don't have a meal until like 3, 4 o'clock, I'm like I might just be good for the day.
Mm, mhm, mhm, mhm.
How about you, Shayla?
I can do it. I have done it. I do it more effortlessly when it's not intentional. I'm like Lorraine, when it's intentional, it's like, dang, I'm ready to eat now, But really getting into, okay, well, if I'm going to have that one meal a day, it's definitely going to be lunch, that 12 to 3 time frame. I'm going to, get what I need so that when it's metabolism time, it's a slow, pace until I have my next intake, which, would be a liquid. But honestly, y'all, this has really been, and I can probably go through some old journals where I just knew that this time would approach. Like we have to be aware, because even as plant eaters, plant-based vegans, what have you, raw vegans, we have to understand that that nanotechnology is real. Now, even though we as in this avatar are also nanotechnology, we are natural beings, right? And we know that you cannot trademark nature, but if you alter nature, it can then become property, right? So I'm saying that to say a lot of the foods, especially vegan foods and things like that, they definitely have this nanotechnology in it, which over time, if enough of it is taken in, it can and will alter your DNA, making you less human, thus, and not saying that unfortunately enough, we're not property now, because most of us, if not all of us, probably have birth certificates, and that's a whole nother topic for a different day. But just really understanding again what it is that we're consuming, albeit eating, watching, hearing, is definitely is necessary, but we want to be careful. Someone.
It's so, I was going to say two things. Well, one is a question, but just to veg you back off of what you were just saying, it's so interesting because I used to always say that, like, if the theory of evolution is true, then as humans, we should be evolving. And I'm like,
Mhm.
so what is the next evolution of the human? But, like, with you saying that with the nanotechnology, and it's like, oh, it's becoming less human and more of whatever that technology is. So it makes perfect sense.
Mhm.
Um, but my question would be when you were asking about the eating the one meal a day, because I was actually just reading something on this earlier today because I'm trying to exercise, right? So I'm like, I can definitely change my diet. That's always easier for me. The exercising is a whole nother challenge.
Mm.
So I'm on day 7 of a 90-day challenge, so I'm very proud. I have gone 7 days straight. Woohoo! But today was actually a break day, and so they were reading. They gave us some materials to read, and they were talking about eating, nutritiously or whatever, nutritious meals. So they advised against the not eating throughout the day, that you should definitely eat, and it's because of, like, as far as at least weight loss and losing fat is concerned, because they say when you do that, it tells your body to store the fat,
Mhm.
which is what ultimately we're trying to get rid of. So what are your thoughts on that, as far as like people who are definitely trying to eat right and definitely practice in this way, but also maintain a nice little
That's a
set of
really
abs?
That's a great question. I think it would be one, determining what is it that you're actually doing. Now, one meal a day, um, doesn't necessarily mean that there are no other intakes for the day in my mind, right? So if I have a green juice for breakfast, then I know, okay, I can have, I may not need anything until 12, 1 o'clock. That will be my meal. And then for dinner or before, sundown, I can have another juice or something to the sort, water, tea. But if the body, again, things happen mentally, spiritually before they happen physically. So if mentally, okay, body members, we're preparing for this intermittent fast, which is going to require us to have one meal a day. That means we only going to be chewing once a day. We have to prepare for that. But I do believe that if the body is starved of nutrients, it will ultimately store fat, because the body doesn't know when will be the next time that it will consume. So it's just like, wait, we got to hold on to what we got. But I think it is definitely more of a mental faculty.
Yes, I like that. I like that. That I can do. Look.
Okay, then. So we're winding down on our session. We love bringing these topics to you. And hopefully you will, drop in the chat if there's something that you would like to hear us talk about. But we really want to encourage you, as Dr. Mumi was saying, like for real, if you feel that your body, your higher self is causing or calling for you to detox, do that. Right. And we really don't want to ignore these warning signs. I'm one. Like, it got to be a full tractor trailer, dun, 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 for you to be like, oh, Spirit was saying to detox now. Right. And you may have people around that's like, nope, I'm going to eat this, I'm going to eat that. And you got to have that tunnel vision to say, well, the message that I received for me was I need to chill. I really need to focus on what I have, because there is intelligence in that, right? And as she mentioned, no shade to those. Wherever you are is where you are, but we do know that whether it's the waters, whether it's the way that the animals are being raised, it definitely is an imbalance. And the more we keep taking in the imbalances of those animals, it's just a transfer of energy. So if you're gonna have it, have a plan. If I'm going to eat this, am I eating any greens? Am I eating any rawage that's going to help clean that, stuff out? And as I'm learning different modalities, there's so many ways in which you can level up. The food is just a part of it, or a lack thereof. But listen to what your body is saying. Listen to what your spirit is saying. And don't allow other people to tell you, well, this is what you should be doing. Wait a minute. You ain't get my envelope. You don't know what the Most High is calling me to do for my next step on my journey. So, definitely just make sure that you're going within and not relying on what other people are doing and saying because you didn't get their envelope. So, any closing remarks from either one of you before we peace out?
I did want to share. I went ahead and ran and got this. This is the deck that I was talking about, the metaphysical cannabis. And this right here is a powerful deck. It was designed and illustrated by two melanated women. And when I tell you that this deck right here, it's like it sits right beside me. And, all right, now, baby, come on, let me tell you something. And it's right in my face. So that if you are looking for a new deck and you're interested in this one right here, even if you don't use cannabis, this deck is.
I was gonna say, come through for cannabis now, because cannabis is amazing,
powerful. Yeah.
So many levels.
Chat.
Ciao. Okay. Thank you for that referral. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Anything for you, lawyer mommy?
Oh no, just always give thanks for holding space, and thanks for all of you guys out there joining us, and have a great weekend.
Come through, come through, come through. It's supposed to be beautiful in many places. I hope that you're able to get out and get some sun. Until next week, Friday, we say peace, love, and wholeness.